a finance app or one of those things, right? I could figure, not only that, sometimes we can even figure out based on the data that you belong to a different age group also based on the usage of an app. So all put together to make, a big data story more compelling. If you add this all together and clean up some of the bad data, the size of the data is here. 40 terabyte a day, 100 terabyte data just around user. So when you made an ad request, it has to go through that data set of 110 terabyte to figure out what kind of person you are. 5.1 petabyte of a data warehouse store. That means I really need to have lots of machines. This is where the CEO don't like it or the CFO don't like it, but we really need this. 10,000 slots, and people who understand Hadoop will understand the slot that I'm talking. These are not like casino slot machines, but these are like machine slots. And 500 terabytes, probably it's understated, but 500 terabyte of a warehouse, which means that if I have to, and this too also aggregated only for a year and a half, and I'm discounting all the daily level data that we keep for 90 days, and after that we have to anonymize it because there's a regulation. So because we take the security very important. So, and that too for 90 days we need to make sure, because if somebody, some like app developer makes a claim, or advertiser makes a claim that this was a fraud, we have to have the 90-day data to prove whether it's a fraud or not. But otherwise we take anonymization of a user very seriously. As you can see, that 14 billion requests comes all across the world, and it's well spread. And if you see this diagram, what it's showing is the outer periphery is the ad request. That ad request converts into, people who understand the web world, is the web logs. That web logs actually goes to a local colo, where the collectors are that collects the data. And then, as it goes down, it goes to the central colo where the large data warehouse is. And this all has to happen every minute. And I'm serious, every minute all this data gets aggregated and gets pushed. So again, if you talk to CFO, the bandwidth that you require across a different colo like China, US, Singapore and stuff like that, that's also cost. And I'm going to talk why that cost is important for a competitive edge. So that was the technology scale overview. Now the technology part, which most of the people know, that there's the data coming in, you do the processing and you generate some insights, right? But what is under the hood? This is what is under the hood. The most talked about distributed system is Hadoop, right? So you combine Hadoop, Hive, HBase, and I think for the people who are from a tech background, they'll connect with this, they'll know the use cases. So I'm not going to cover the use cases on the tech side, because I've been told that this is more of a management, mid-management and upper management talk. So, but you put this all together, and this powers the whole warehousing and insights. The whole machine learning, which is, so for example, if I have to predict that Subway Surfer or a new site, so something else comes in, right? How many, it's like battery optimizer. I think many people do use battery optimizer if they're using Android, right? People use this battery optimizer, right? How many times do you really, when you're doing an optimization, you see an ad, you really like it, right? If I know that within few seconds that this particular app is not going to give me a bigger value, I need to cut down serving on this app. And the only way I can do it is within few seconds or a minute, I should be able to judge for this user, for this geolocation, for this device or that model of the phone, am I going to serve or not? And hence it has to happen like every minute, every second. And that's where the fast system comes in. If I don't do it, and I'm trying to justify why this system is required, if I don't do it, I'll continue to burn on this, I'll not get the ROI, and hence the company will start making loss. So it's an investment for the future. Over a period of time, the ROI turns out to be like amazing, because the competitive edge that you get, because the marginal increase that you bring, so even if you save, say, 10 cents per user, 1 billion into 10 cents will make a very large number. And hence this becomes really important. So the moment you have a scale, you need to make sure it's so effective and efficient that every smallest request will make the difference in the whole P&L. So what's the impact? Prediction. it's really, really important. For this user, should I serve? For this user, should I show this ad? For this user, does it really make sense? Or should I show something else? Because there are like plethora of the advertisers who wanting to reach to all the users. Should I choose the people between a download? Many people would have seen video ads also, right? Suddenly you see a video ad. Sometimes you can skip it, sometimes you can't skip it. If you can't skip it and you're liking the app, you get really annoyed, but you have to see it because you get some points and hence you change the level, something like this, right? All these things has to be predicted for that user, right? So prediction becomes really important because if you predict right, you save money or actually you make money. If you predict wrong, all the money you actually end up losing it. So it becomes a loss statement. Hence prediction is really, really important for the companies who are working at this scale where they cannot afford to take any time in judgment. Recommendations and prediction recommendation goes together. So you now recommend whether should I show these kind of apps to this user or not. Or I mean lately you would have also start seeing that if you're using Flipkart or Amazon or something, what you added to your cart actually shows up. How many of you have actually seen that? Right? Don't you get freaked out? How did that happen? Okay, that's the science. So somebody is, I wouldn't say spoofing on you, but they don't know you, but they really serve a really relevant ads. Those were the days, if you go a year back, you would see some ads always coming. And most of the time, I remember we were testing one of the ads and we were testing and we clicked on this Zivame. Now, no matter where I go, this guy was following me. No matter where I go, right? Obviously, they didn't know I was testing, but the point I'm trying to make is this is the precision, and this is matter of seconds. You click here, and like 15 seconds or 20 seconds, you go on different site, and you'll start seeing that. That's the speed of light that you have to have in your system to stay competitive and make sure it is relevant to a person. You cannot show something to a person who eventually will actually become a loss for you. So hence all this recommendation becomes very important. Targeting, okay, that's covered because if you show the relevant ad to the right person, that you target it. And pricing, obviously this is where the money comes in, and hence all the three has to work properly to make sure the pricing works for you. Like I said, prediction is important, recommendation is important. So every advertiser comes with an ROI saying that, I have $10,000 to burn today. And sometimes, people come with this, oh, you know what, I have 500K to be burned over this weekend. Let me share a story. So Amazon Prime was starting in US, a big launch. And Walmart said, no, we need to do something. We're not dilute their launch. They said, guys, and they came to InMobi and say, we have $500,000 for you. Make sure you reach out to all the users who are also going to use Amazon Prime. Imagine the scale that we have to make sure that $500,000 has to be used in I think it was a 3-day launch of Amazon. So that these kind of things that you don't target anybody, the person who doesn't have Amazon Prime, if you launch to them, it doesn't make sense, right? Because, so those kind of inferences you have to do. And then obviously the business metrics, there's a report that at the end of the day, like Sundar said, right, there's a score, based on the score, he does a surgical strike and stuff like that. That's why scoring becomes very important. And then how many actually you guys have experienced that in your business, based on the data, you could figure out, oh, there's a new strategy that I can do. Okay, so people who are from a data background, they'll actually say that, we don't need to go out in the fields. Just looking at the data, I can say, maybe we should try this, maybe we should try that, right? So data and the pattern identification can actually lead to a new business strategy or business opportunities, right? So that's the power of the data. This is a little bit about how InMobi is contributing and also consuming the whole open source ecospace. So we contribute to the Apache Falcon has been found by us, and Lens, Apache Lens. The rest we are actually consuming and then contributing. This is about InMobi, how InMobi is committed to the open source. Thank you. It's okay. I'll try to use a long distance hearing.
From cybersecurity side, we basically, yeah, now it's on. Good afternoon. My name is Mahesh, and I'm a cybersecurity expert working in telecom as well as BFSI segment. One of the threats in this warehousing, what people face, you are mentioning, very targeted and very valuable information, which is the wealth of your intelligent processing at InMobi and target customers, and their information in terms of geolocation, IMEI numbers, and host of things which come in the mobile. And another fact is that we have more than 100 million million attacks a day. What does InMobi specifically do in terms of data security as well as flow mapping of data if people are getting into wrong areas and sort of abusing or sort of pilfering?
So like I said, right, InMobi has two stores. One store which is purely for an audit and fraud detection perspective, which is highly secured based on the access control. Another one is anonymizing it. So post 90 days, it gets anonymized or basically deleted, right? But the moment the data comes, it gets split into two parts. One, you cannot identify a person. You can bucket a person into a category, and that's why I was talking about all the classification, right? A user gets classified and loses its identity, but doesn't lose its classification. So a person cannot be identified like it was Rohit who was doing this. But what it identifies is Rohit belongs to this persona, and hence if I get this is the persona, nothing else about him. That is okay from a security perspective. Whereas on the audit and that perspective, we keep the data at the impression level to understand if there is something, happening because of the regulatory thing. So that's how we make sure that access to that data is very sensitive, and we make sure only few people have it and for a purpose.
Hi, this is Amit. You talked about ads following people, right? If you visit, let's say, Urban Ladder, and I'm looking for a study table, and it will start showing up everywhere on every other website.
That's mostly Facebook, by the way.
And to an extent, that's good. Like, it serves as a reminder that you were looking for something, and probably there might be something new available and stuff like that. But at the same time, one thing that annoys me is that it never stops. So it doesn't know that if I have actually already bought a study table, and it should stop showing me ads. So from an ad technology perspective, is something being done to sort of improve that point of customer experience?
So mostly, if you need to figure out who's really annoying it, if you click, there is a way to figure out that who's annoying you. Like I said, right, if you're getting, and I shouldn't be using Facebook, but it's not InMobi, because InMobi doesn't do the web-based retargeting yet, because we are majorly on the app side. So if you end up ordering something, yes, you will not be served the same ad again. Maybe there is a lag by the time the data comes and stuff. Maybe half a day, 2 hours, depends on how the data. But mostly it will stop following. Some ad network, they just like, they'll bombard you for next. So there is a data science. People say that if you showed an interest based on the category that you clicked, the next 3 or 5 days are very prime, because mostly will influence you at that time. And if you buy, if you don't, and mostly after 3 or 5 days it stops showing up. Some X days you will see that decays. So there is a decaying factor that gets applied. So yes, that there is definitely a science there. Thank you. Last.
Just one question. I saw the slide which talks about technology and its and the size of the data, and it's intriguing because putting up such a platform with 15 things talking to each other on such a large warehouse, how do you position yourself to upcoming changes? For example, let's say Spark now becomes one platform for doing all the peripheral work. How would you change it? Because to implement that change, you need at least 6 months. And by the time you implement the change, there's something better in the ecosystem which you probably want to put in now.
Yeah.
So how do you foresee that thing?
So we have a small team in each of the engineering functions who keep trying the new technology, and for solving either a business problem or a use case or an efficiency or a cost reduction, could be any of these functions, right? These guys try out things and say, you know what, this works great for this, but the moment you add this but, and it puts everything else, right? it's then the whole, you know, senior team thinks that how do we, if this particular use case is going to become bigger and bigger, then obviously we need to shift. And obviously all this shift takes 3 to 6 months to a year, depends on how complex it is, how critical it is, it's going to impact the revenue and stuff. So yeah, it is painful, it takes time, but yeah, you need to be very, very due diligent about what, you know, what are the details, because anything that breaks, even for an hour, cost revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rohit. A round of applause for him. And thank you for the questions. I will take on Amit's experience, and my personal experience has been very similar. Sometimes you'll end up talking to your laptop saying, no, I didn't mean to click it, I swear. Because you know that it's going to chase you now till such time you either make it as irrelevant or land up buying